Hello, my name is Dale Hawthorne. I welcome you back to my channel if you've been here before, or I would like to welcome you here for the first time if this is the first time you seeing me, listening to me, and I hope that this video does say something to you, gives you some guidance, gives you some ideas, and I'd like to start off with saying I hope that you've been watching Jordan Peterson on YouTube or reading his books. There's many great things that he has to say. I enjoy listening to him and reading his books myself. I've been over a lot of the same literature he has, and his depths of psychological and clinical practice really speak to a lot of people and help them out. But there's someone else also that I'd like to introduce you to also. C.S. Lewis, if you have just become a little bit aware of him. Both Freud and Lewis, Peterson and Lewis, are very well read, and many times they've read over the same authors. They both read Freud, they both read Jung, and both came to the Bible through their understanding of Jesus through literature. Lewis started out in Oxford University right after World War II as a tutor in philosophy and English literature. And he also continued to learn much more about the Bible and spoke about the Bible over the years and wrote about it. And Peterson also came to Jesus through literature, through seeking to understand Jesus. And Peterson, what I've read of him, his view of Jesus is a very orthodox Christian view. He doesn't seem to be much of a churchman compared to Lewis. Lewis was a faithful Anglican. He usually attended a prayer service early in the day, around after 8 a.m. in the morning, after he already had a time of his own prayer walk. And Lewis was definitely deeper into church. He's a part of the Anglican church there. He lived in Oxford, England, and he was also much more into the historicity of the faith and ancient literature also. Peterson is much stronger in psychology. Peterson has a great deal of clinical experience, a great deal of good things to say from working with people. Lewis, though, isn't really much of a slouch. I've heard people with PhDs in psychology say that Lewis is the best amateur psychologist they knew. So, okay, you've been going over Peterson, but what do you want to know about Lewis? Well, my suggestion would be that you would first of all start out with the movie, The Most Reluctant Convert. Max McLean, the primary actor in that movie, is someone that who was a seminary colleague of mine back in the early 1980s, and we're not close. Only thing but I'm recommending the movie just simply because it is very well done, and I'm going to put pride in the comments a link as to where to find that. So, Most Reluctant Convert, and I think you'll enjoy it. His books, you may have come across one or two, or you may have seen the Narnia movies, which those of us who've actually read through the Chronicles of Narnia don't actually find the last two. Find the first one fine, but the last two we kind of wondered. So, Chronicles of Narnia. But if you haven't read the books, I'd encourage you to read the books. But as far as a book to start out with, Lewis, Mere Christianity is an excellent place to start. He talks about Christian faith, Christian doctrine, and it's a book that appeals to evangelicals such as myself, Roman Catholics, Anglicans, Orthodox, and pretty much anyone who believes the Orthodox Christian faith, the Apostles' Creed Christianity. It appeals to all. And he does do a great job of explaining things. I don't find anything really objectionable in there, and as a matter of fact, a lot of things that are right on as far as Christian doctrine goes. He did a masterful job of explaining it. And these books were derived from the talks which he did in World War II to explain the Christian faith to people at that time. Another book which you might find helpful is The Problem of Pain. It's his book on what we call theodicy. The problem of evil, the righteousness of God in this world. How can a holy God create a world such as this? And it isn't the way exactly that he created it. So you'll find that, and you'll find that this may answer some questions if you're having some questions about why there is suffering and evil in the world. Another book which I think you'll find approaches things from an aspect which you won't find, as far as I know, in Jordan Peterson's works. I don't know if you'll ever see it, but Problem of Temptation, as far as the demonic, Peterson doesn't seem to understand or follow the reality of the demonic as much as Lewis did, as much as I've seen. But that may be my misunderstanding. Maybe he does deal with the other time. But another book, The Screwtape Letters, deals with temptation from a very humorous and wonderful standpoint of a senior devil to a junior devil. So you might find that to be very helpful. And see if you can get the edition which has Screwtape proposes a toast at the very end. Um, that's a very, very great talk. If you've ever been to any sort of a dinner meeting, I think you'll find that very, very entertaining and very, very insightful too. If you're wondering about the modern education system, one of the best books which Lewis wrote, it wasn't much understood or received well at the time, but his book, The Abolition of Man, is absolutely something you need to read. It isn't so much about teachers as much as what's being taught. And he came to this conclusion after a certain book had been sent to him, and he comes out against a lot of the things which are said in that book, and really about training people nowadays. What kind of people are we turning out in our schools? So I'd encourage you also, The Abolition of Man at some time. And if you just like fiction, the Space Trilogy is well worth reading. I've read that many times over the years. First book is Out of the Silent Planet. Second book is Paralandra. The third book is That Hideous Strength. They each deal with different parts of the world. Out of the Silent Planet deals with a trip to Mars. Paralandra, a trip to Venus. That Hideous Strength is back here on Earth. So Paralandra itself is considered one of the gems of 20th century English literature. It's considered one of the most beautiful books, and that isn't just me. I thought it would be back in the 1980s when I first came across it, but I think you'll find that it's an extremely beautiful book, extremely insightful, and that you'll find that it does speak to a lot of what's in here, the heart as well as the mind. So, one more book. It's one which I just came across recently, but which does deal with the worldview of the time of the medieval and Renaissance literature, which C.S. Lewis was a tremendous specialist in. He was extremely well read. He was one of the experts in medieval and Renaissance literature at Oxford University, Cambridge University in England during the 1940s through the 1950s. The Discarded Image is the book you'll be looking for. The Discarded Image, an introduction to medieval and Renaissance literature. It tells about the worldview of that time. I think you'll find it enjoyable. It is another case where it's talks which have been transcribed, put into literary form, and it tells about how the planets and how ancient literature, some of the very lesser known authors from the late Roman Empire played a part in the later medieval world. So some authors which I hadn't even heard of. My undergrad degree is in classics. So I would like to encourage you to pick that up. And also, there's another one that I'd like to recommend to you at the end. Planet Narnia, The Seven Heavens and the Imagination of C.S. Lewis. Michael Ward came across information as he went through C.S. Lewis and found out how the seven planets seem to correspond to the seven books of the Chronicles of Narnia. And this isn't about astrology or anything like weird like that, but I think that you'll find that very illuminating if you want to see the background to what fed C.S. Lewis's imagination at the time, the literature that he was reading and lecturing on and teaching others with, how that played a part in the worlds which he came up with. So I appreciate your time. thank you for listening to me, and I would love it if you would like and subscribe, and because there will be more content, there will be different types on my channel in days to come. I got years of content available, so I want to warn you right now. Thank you.